And now, from beyond our dimension, this is the JeffMara podcast. Here's Jeff.
My guest is Ryan Smith, who during his near-death experience saw two family members on the other side, and today we're going to learn about it. Ryan, thank you so much for joining me, and welcome.
Thanks for having me, Jeff. Good to be here.
Ryan, if you don't mind, let's just start on the day that your injury happened and go from there.
It was January 17th, 2005. I know I can't forget that date. I was stationed in the United States Army, and it was on my second deployment to Iraq, a place called Iskandariyah. And we just do kind of the basic things every day, and load up for patrols around the cities and stuff like that. So it was our turn that morning. It was about 7 a.m. Load up the gear, the vest, the helmets, the guns, the Humvees, everything. Takes a while. Anyway, we got all that, and we started to hit the road. And we were going to do some kind of patrol out in I think it was Karbala, Iraq. And it's usually like a little bit ways to get there, and we roll in the middle of the roads, try to take not as heavy roads of what's left of some of them. They're very blown up there. But anyway, we're just riding, and out of nowhere, a bomb. I think it was a projectile. I don't know exactly what kind of bomb it was, but it was an improvised explosive device, IED. They kind of plant those all over the country when we were there in 2005. And I was the third vehicle. I think if they're sitting in the bushes or wherever, they count 1, 2, and in an instant, my vehicle exploded. I realized it was on fire, but it started spinning in 360s, right as that happened, the time just instantly, it was like slow motion. I mean, and this thing, I was there, but I didn't experience how fast, how much fire. It seemed like it took an eternity to stop. And there's nothing I could do. The one thing I knew I was doing, calling frantically for help. But obviously everyone saw it in the other two vehicles. I remember earlier that day, we had a thing called a combat lock, where you lock it from the inside, so anyone tries to come up and open the door from the outside, they can't. I'd been to a tour before where we didn't even have armor on the Humvees, so that just seemed a little excessive to me. If someone's going to come to the vehicle, not a good idea. Anyway, I didn't lock those, and we were on our way. And the explosion, while I'm spinning in 360s, the door just opens. And I'm not sure if that would have happened had we locked it, and quite possibly been some more severe injuries. But one way or another, I was thrown from that vehicle, whether it's before it stopped or, I'm not sure if I jumped, but I don't know. I ended up, that's the last conscious thought I had, is somehow exiting the vehicle. And apparently I'm lying on the highway, and just chaos is the Humvee is apparently on fire. And I don't know if they're out there looking for whoever did this. It's just, I wasn't there, but I was. And the next thing I did notice, I can't explain it exactly. I was looking up, and there was two humongous, like, crystal mountains, one on each side of them. I do remember that. And it was, it was just like, it more than the imagery that I was seeing was the feeling. That was the first thing that I noticed. I mean, I just woke up, and every emotion, I should be logically, what happened, like in a panic and all that, I imagine, but it was the most peaceful, calming feeling that I've ever felt and loved. I I didn't understand the love, but it came to me. And it was like throughout my body, my mind, what was going on. It's like the best drug you could ever have. And I don't know, multiply it by a million. It was a strange feeling, a good feeling. And the thing I did see was these two beings that were they were like lit up, like glowing beautifully. I mean, it's hard to say they were just lit up. It was beautiful. Like, and I instantly knew who they were. No one told me. It was my grandfather and my son, which was he at the time. I had never met these people. My grandfather died, which is kind of interesting. Today's his birthday, and I didn't really know that until I saw a story on Facebook today from one of my great aunts. But it was my grandfather and my son, which was in utero at the time. My ex-wife was pregnant with him about 2 to 3 months, maybe. So I mean, I don't even know if we knew he was going to be a boy. That's the one thing that got me also. But you know, I didn't get any information from them. I felt like we were there for a very long time. Like the concept of time, it's like I didn't have that information anymore. Is strange. I felt like we were just there forever, but the only thing they told me was it's not your time. And you know, I was like, well, I tried to bargain with them. I was like, well, no, I want to stay. I want to be here, you know, please. They're like, they kind of just put their hands up and it's not your time. Everything's gonna be all right. We'll meet again. And that was that for a moment. I remember just kind of going back and forth actually. And then the next thing I know, I woke up screaming. And I was in this reality. And I was all disoriented. I had pulled my pistol on my lieutenant. I just did not recognize him when I came to. I was on a gurney. They had taken me off the highway and put me in a secure location until I was medevaced out of there to a Baghdad combat support hospital on the base there. And I passed out a few times in the hospital. I'm not in the hospital, in the helicopter, just coming to very confused. I mean, I was confused until I got to the hospital, into their makeshift emergency room. And I don't know why I was the senior person in that vehicle that day, and everyone else was the same. It was also had the same experience. And it's just I wasn't hurt any more than anyone else, I don't think, except I did get thrown from the vehicle, so I don't know. And they treated me I had some burns, my leg at the time, and small shrapnel, but so I had some burns on my face there too, but that and a brain injury after that. But basically after we all finally got calm, and I sat there and I recalled this experience later that day after all the prescriptions they gave me and things, and I finally calmed down. I guess the division commander came down, and I didn't even realize that I was. He awarded me and my 3 other people from my team a Purple Heart, and that was cool. I mean, that was something I wasn't thinking of at that moment. I think I was just in shock, even after I was sedated, that I couldn't believe what I had witnessed. And it was so much more than a dream, and it was so much more than something, a drug induced experience. It was this life right now does not feel as vivid and as emotional as where I was for that very short time, which felt like, God, like an eternity, just in a short conversation with my grandfather and my son. But that's the extent of it, of what happened in the moment over there. And thank you for letting me get that out. I've never shared that openly. I have written it out for and shared a little bit on a Facebook group, but there it goes.
Well, Ryan, thank you for sharing it with us. When you were looking at those crystal mountains, were they like natural mountains, or do you feel like they were more like created structures, like maybe almost buildings?
They could have been a building of something we don't recognize as building here, but when I looked up, they weren't. I say mountains because that they were like almost like glass, like you see a normal crystal, and like they might have like sharp huge icicles just going to a point. I remember, and they were illuminated just very brightly, just more. It's like a brightness you can't. Not even looking at the sun. I don't know. I don't know. I don't have the words to explain it actually, but that's as best as I can do.
It's like so bright that you would think it would hurt your eyes to look at, but it didn't.
Exactly. It's just it felt like an emotion rather than seeing the light. I remember it was. I mean, I was getting all kinds of emotions from all over, just trying to take in where I am and what's going on.
Did your family members look like energy beings, like the shape of a human, but completely like energy?
They did. They had a human figure, like and they were both about the same size. I think I knew my grandfather was on the left and my son was on the right. He was it looked like maybe he just wasn't as old enough, but they I think I'd look to see if I could see their faces, but I knew who they were, but they were just bright, extremely iridescent, glowing beings. That's all I can really elaborate, you know?
Mm-hmm. You mentioned that the other side was more vivid than here. Is it possible that this world is dreamlike and the other world is the real world?
I've considered that. I considered, possibly that is home, because the feelings when I was there, I mean, everyone gets that feeling where they're gone for a while, come home, and they're like, been waiting to get here. It was like that. I mean, it was like that, but so much more. Like, finally, here it is. Here I am, and I didn't want to leave. Obviously, I had a I debated about it when I was there.
Would you say that the love you felt over there is like the love that we're always searching for here?
I think we're all searching for something like that, I feel like that was the ultimate love. I mean, the ultimate just energy of radiant love. I mean, and people here we're trying to look for that constantly. I mean, us as human beings, we look for love, reassurance, and I mean that's what we're made up of, I believe. So of course we're looking for it because we're made with it. That's what I feel. Maybe we've been there before.
Before this happened, did you have any spiritual or religious beliefs? And if so, how did they change?
I grew up Christian, in the Christian church, but other than that, I shied away at best agnostic for a long time, just doubting what happened. I would say I would put it off as science, just wiring the parts of your brain getting ready to die. That's what I really believed for a long time. Maybe trying to fight with myself about it, what I really believed, because I do have an absolute spiritual side to me, and I tried to deny it, I think, for so long. And when I did get clean, because I was drinking for since then and up until about a year 16, what am I trying to do math, 16 months ago, I had enough with it. There's some circumstances in my life that made me look at it myself, and I had to change it. And recently, I've met one of my friends. She brought up the word near death experience in a share in a meeting that I go to, and my ears perked up. I was like, "What, a near death experience?" Because I didn't know this community was out here. I didn't know there's a lot of people interested. I was very not ashamed of it, confused by it, I think is the word. Um, and I think I just blocked myself off from feeling, because maybe I missed it so much. I really don't know. Maybe that was it, but now I absolutely realize what happened to me now that I've been clean for a little over a year, and I've been missing out.
Well, as I mentioned to you earlier, I've done about 400 of these interviews, and it's common for people to be angry after they come back because they didn't want to come back here.
I think I held a grudge towards God because of it for a very long time and took it out on myself.
Do you feel like the memory of this experience has faded at all?
Because it was so brief, I don't think so. If I was given more information and they and things like that, unless I just remember something randomly here soon, but I don't think so. I've always been thinking about this, even though I was trying to not by other ways and just denying it. But I think it was just a quick, when they said, you have more to do and it's not your time. They didn't elaborate. So
yeah, well, especially your son.
Yeah, oh, that's true. That's true. He
needs you around.
Exactly. Funny thing is, I told him the story. At first, I think he thought I was crazy, and a huge thing. I told him about my grandfather's birthday today and how I was like, that is just amazing that I'm speaking about him in one way, and people are remembering as him in my family today as he was in this life. So it was very interesting to get to this today.
Yeah, it is a very cool synchronicity. In what other ways do you feel that you've changed since your experience?
Well, I think some ways that I've changed since my experience, as I realized my experience, I mean, the first almost decade afterwards, I changed as I didn't change. I regressed in my life, and just I had been to like a lot of treatment centers to try to help my PTSD, and I didn't go, I wasn't working any of it. I would just sneak out and get obliterated drunk because I just didn't want to deal with anything. And since I've come around, it's like it's hitting me faster. It's trying to catch up for the times that I was blocking this out. And in the short time, I think it's a short time of my realization of what had happened to me. It's just immensely profound. I take it with me, and this will be the first, maybe second time I shared it with one friend that's interested in these new near-death experiences, and she's the one that got me to reach out, and I'm glad she did, because I know that this benefit in telling someone mine could help somebody. And I mean, that's what a big part of my life now is, trying to help people struggling. And I found a lot of peace through this that I didn't have before. I was very angry, very, very closed off. I would just, whatever things I had to do, because I still had to take care of my children. I've been taking care of my children alone for 6 years, because their mother had a situation and she's gone out of their lives, not all the time, but a lot of the time. So I had to just do that, and then try to live a life where I could block it out. But since awakening from this and realizing, I mean, I've I am no longer agnostic, atheist, obviously, but I mean, I'm not denying this anymore. And I think, and that has opened up so much joy into my life. I mean, praying isn't praying. I mean, I don't remember the last time I prayed before a year ago. It'd be like, dear God, help me. And it's just not going to work that way for me anymore. I spend quite a bit of time praying, meditating. I have to meditate to calm my mind a lot. I have erasing thoughts a lot. And maybe that's due to ADD, some of the TBI, but it's the best fuel I get to feel peaceful, and it comes so naturally.
Have you noticed that you have any mental abilities that could be considered psychic since your experience?
I don't think I have any psychic abilities. I mean, I'm definitely an empath, and I can feel. I guess that is an ability in its way. I wasn't able to feel other people's emotions through myself before. I mean, I sit in recovery meetings, and people are pouring out their hearts sometimes, and I can feel it inside of me. And I don't know if that is a psychic ability or just me being a good person to empathize. I don't know. But I mean, there are a few things that I've noticed. I mean, maybe they've always been happening and I've been too out of my mind to notice, but the synchronicities with numbers that I see every day, I know a lot of people see angel numbers and stuff, but I mean, it's at least 3 times a day with the time I wake up out of my sleep recently. I think it was just last week, and I was like, what time is it? 3:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, 33 seconds. And I just didn't go back to sleep after that. It was shocking. But other than any other powers, I really don't think or have yet to gain, I'm not sure. That's all I can really tell you about that.
Do you feel like you're still processing this experience?
Yes, I think I am. I'm trying to put, connect the dots of where I left off in life there, where I could have. I mean, I think my situation, it's not different than anybody else's. It's just I didn't have time where I was to sit down and process what happened. I definitely didn't have anybody to talk about that. Maybe the chaplain, but still, people in the culture I was in. You don't want to show any weakness, for one thing. And I was raised on that in the military, did not show weakness. And it's something I'm still working on, because I feel like opening up about mental things, PTSD, TBI, I used to think that was a weakness. And I know it's absolutely not, because there's many people out there struggling.
Do you fear death at all?
Well, I mean, that's a two-sided coin of a question. I mean, I feared death only in the sense of what I would leave behind if I had to leave today. And I mean, that would just be something that I'm thinking about on this side of the world. But it's really just, I don't fear it. If what happened to me is going to happen again, I am excited. My vehicle exploded and I felt nothing. I mean, at the moment, I didn't feel nothing. I mean, after a while, it was painful, but it was just like a flip of a card. Like, here I am in a war zone. Here I am in, oh my God, I don't know where I was. I don't know if it was heaven. I don't know if it was in between. Whatever it was, I don't fear death, if that's what it's going to be. It's an easy transition.
What's also fascinating for me after doing so many of these is that a lot of people, right before they're going to have a very traumatic physical injury, they leave their body. Like if they're going to get hit by a bus, they actually exit their body right before the bus hits them, so they don't feel the impact of the bus, smashing their body. Kind of the same thing that you had in a way.
Similar, the slow motion and just kind of made it softer, I imagine, you know.
And while you were over there, I think you said that there was no time, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's very strange. It felt like for a very long time, and I know it wasn't. I mean, I couldn't have been out for more than 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So, but over there, it was like an infinite feeling in a short period of time on here. That was the one thing I really couldn't get over for a long time when I did ponder it in my own mind, because I had no one to talk to about it.
For the friends and family that you have told this to, how have they reacted?
I told my father. I told him, I don't know if I told him a while back, and I just recently retold him. You know, he was just like amazed that he didn't know that happened to me. He said he didn't know it was that much in depth. I mean, I've told him the actual parts of the slow motion part. I think I remember telling him, and that was interesting. But I didn't tell him, you know, my experience. I didn't, you know, like I said, I was a little ashamed of it for a while. So, but when I told him, he was very amazed, and he actually told me of something. He had a dream that he met me and my sister, and asked. He thought he was dead. He asked, "Where? What are you doing here?" But you know, he just shared with me. So that was cool.
Was it his father that you saw on the other side?
Yes, it was his father, Nathan Douglas Smith. He was a pilot. He was a pilot in World War II, and he died. He had a tragic death as an electrician in Chicago in 1976. So I never got to meet him, but I hear a lot about him. He seems amazing. So,
are you at the point in your life now where you kind of feel like you love everybody?
I definitely trying, but I do feel a connection to people that I've never felt before. I mean, I feel love for people that I mean, I don't sit there and think about everyone in a loving manner, but I mean, the friends that I've met that I haven't known very long, I love them all. And it's a very strange feeling once I've been connected back with it. Yes.
After watching this podcast, people may want to reach out to you and ask you questions. Are you up for that?
Sure. They can find me and ask me questions.
What's the best way to find you?
Facebook. People send messages on there. Ryan Smith. You'll see a guy with long hair and a beard on there. And or that, just send me a message through there. I'm on the Facebook near death experience. What kind of page is that? It's a private page.
I guess you'd call it a Facebook page or a Facebook group.
Yeah, Facebook group. That's what it's called. I'm on there. I don't think you could find me easily. Yeah, that's just probably the easiest way. I have an email. People would want to flood my emails. I'll try to get on that. But it's SkizzyWiz, SkizzyWizz 8 numeral 8 at Gmail. People would like to. That's fine.
Have you felt like more memories of the experience has come back over time, or has it always been the same?
I think it's always been the same. I mean, they came back to me once I started thinking about it more and more. I was like, oh yeah, I didn't want to go back. I remember that, but I mean, it's always been vivid to me, regardless of my state of mind and trying to not think about it.
Before we finish up, can you give us one last positive message?
It's not a painful experience. It's a flip of the card. It's in a snap of a finger. You're here and then you're there, and that's it. I mean, in my experience, and the people you've lost, in my experience, you'll see again the people you haven't met that know you. You will meet them. There's no doubt about it in my experience. Just love everyone.
Ryan, thank you for that message, and thank you again for being my guest.
Thank you for having me, Jeff.
Thanks for watching the JeffMara podcast. I really appreciate you. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. And if you do, there are loyalty badges and other perks depending on your level of membership. All you need to do is click the join button underneath the video to find out more. Thank you for your support.